From the fashion industry to blogging, Beca Alexander became one of the fierce founders of America's first influencer casting agency called Socialite. Also known as the influencer's influencer, Beca represents the most diverse and iconic influencers of our time. Throughout the years, she has helped content creators around the world grow digital talent and work with the biggest brands.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beca Alexander, and I am the founder and president of Socialyte. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what happened at Socialyte and how we are doing everything we can to be anti-racist. In May 2020, a series of social media posts were published denouncing Socialyte as a racist agency run by a racist leader. Our hashtag BLM post garnered negativity, and talent and past employees spoke out. The conversation was centered around invoicing terms and payments being different for Black creators. And while Socialyte has never been a racist agency, nor do I consider myself a racist leader, I thought to myself, how could this sentiment be true? Well, when Black creators walked into our offices, they didn't see anyone that looked like them. After much introspection, after countless hours reading, listening, and learning, we created an action plan to do and be better. We at Socialyte acknowledge our wrongs, we've apologized, and we've promised to make our talent and employees proud. 6 months after the fact, we stand by our statements. We've created a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee chaired by Chelsea Joseph, and members include 7 industry veterans. We've changed our hiring practices. We've actively declined business from brands that stood and still stand in silence. The rest of this presentation will focus on how brands and agencies need to put their egos aside and learn that not being racist is simply not enough. You must be anti-racist. During the beginning of BLM, we didn't think twice about posting a Black square to silence our own account and amplify Black voices. We also posted this message stating that Socialyte will not work with brands who still stand in silence. The message was meant to show support for our Black creators by taking a stance to not support brands that stood in silence and were called out for any and all racist behavior. Around the same time, a creator posted a video speaking out about an unpaid invoice from December 2019, claiming that Socialyte's accounting practices are racist. Our hashtag Black Lives message did not resonate. Quickly, our feed was flooded with backlash. As you can see here, these are some of the examples of the messages that we received. After listening and learning, after countless difficult phone calls with talent, I began to understand why this happened and what we needed to do to impact change. Our team wasn't diverse, our roster wasn't diverse, and our campaigns weren't cast with diversity in mind. Taking a small step back, I was born in a country that didn't allow for diversity. People were killed for their religious and sexual preferences, and heavy racism still prevails. When my family and I immigrated to America in the late 90s, we promised to each other never to judge anyone based on the color of their skin, who they choose to love, or what they choose to believe in. Fast forward many years to now, I was being called a racist. I had to look inward, put my own ego aside, and see things from a different perspective. What I realized was that as a founder, as a leader, as a mentor and educator, I failed to do enough. It was clear to me that not being a racist isn't the same as being anti-racist. Our hiring practices, our lack of talent diversity, and our mostly white team needed to change. And first and foremost, we took a hard look at ourselves. For our team, we owned up to our mistakes and where we felt short, and we developed an action plan. For our community and industry, we responded to every single negative comment. We publicized our action plan to keep us accountable. We've mandated diversity in all of Socialyte's castings. We ensured each of our clients supported Black Lives Matter. We changed our hiring practices, and we created a diversity, equity, and inclusion council. Previously, we would receive a resume and either interview the candidate based on relevant experience or let them know that we are not hiring. Post an interview, we would either find a role for an individual or wait until a role opened up. Very rarely did we open up a role to a wider group of candidates. This has now changed. We've recently posted an available role on multiple platforms and received over 800 resumes. We also implemented a platform to help us track all resumes and interviews. We've created a diversity council. The Creator Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Alliance will hold us accountable to our diversity and inclusion goals through initiating actionable change and creating resources for brands and creators. Chaired by Chelsea Joseph, this committee has been instrumental in guiding us through the past few months. Many of our competitors were publicly called out for pay disparity within the creator space. When we saw this, we quickly assessed our own business. We looked at all campaigns run by Socialyte since the beginning of the year to see how we compensate talent for their efforts, and what we saw was surprising. While we pay Black creators the most on average in terms of compensation per project, we are underpaying Asian and Middle Eastern talent, and this has to change. This is the public statement that we made on our social channels, and this is the statement that is included in every single proposal. We want to ensure that our brands and our talent are fully aware that Socialyte is committed to equitable and inclusive casting practices. What you just heard, our experience, our action plan, is specific to Socialyte. And now you may ask, what can you do? What can your organization or brand do to make a difference? The first step is to listen. Listen to your employees, listen to your customers, listen and hear what those around you have to say. Where have you fallen short? Without recognizing your mistakes, you can't learn and affect change. For us, while we never meant to alienate or not be inclusive, we clearly were not being inclusive. We didn't try to have an inclusive team. We didn't consider how whitewashed we were as a company. I didn't recognize my own bias. One of the first things we did was train our team to recognize bias and to ensure that it has no place at Socialyte. I listened to a podcast last week about effective leadership and how instead of asking your team, "How was your weekend?" a good way to gauge an emotional state of an employee is asking, "How are you sleeping?" And while I believe that I treat everyone on my team equitably, the individuals I work with on a daily basis do receive more face time with me. And therefore, I often wonder, does the rest of the team feel that I care less about them, making them feel that I may not consider them as much for promotions or raises? This emotional bias could have a major effect on certain members of the team. So now, every few days, I reach out to those that I don't speak to often and ask, "How are you feeling? How are you sleeping? Is there anything I can do to support you?" One of my biggest fears is unintentionally putting people into boxes. This starts with my team and extends to the talent that we work with. I never want to look at someone and instantly check a box. In our line of work, we often need to educate brands that influencers are more than just numbers. They are humans, and the human element is what makes them great because it's that humanity that allows them to reach and engage with their audiences. And it's us humans that have to look past the elements that could put someone into a box and ensure that this is not all that we see. Now that we know where we have to make changes, we urge all of you to take a look at how you're allocating funds to ensure that there is no pay disparity amongst your employees, the talent that you work with, or anyone else. Compensation is one of the ways that individuals feel that they are being treated equitably. And how can your efforts extend past your organization? Can you donate to notable causes? Can you offer your staff ways that they can get involved in their local communities and find ways to support their volunteer work? What other resources can you share and extend to your network that would benefit a wider group of individuals? This is our action plan. As one entity, Socialyte recognizes that we can only do so much. But if we all come together to effect change, we will truly make a difference.